Joseph McCarthy. The term McCarthyism stems from Senator Joseph McCarthy 1950 to 1954 campaign the rid of the United States government of communists and communism sympathizers. It refers to widespread accusations of wrongdoing, often based on little to or no evidence. The concept of McCarthyism is commonly applied in political contexts, especially in regards to questioning of an individual or a group's assumed patriotism or allegiance. The term also implies unwarranted aggression or the partner of the accuser. Joseph McCarthy was trained also by a lawyer and served as a judge in Wisconsin before serving in the Marine Corps during the World War II. After the war, he decided to run for public office. He won his Senate seat in 1946 and spent his few years in Congress in relative obscurity. On February 9, 1950, McCarthy delivered what came to be his known as Enemies Within speech in Wheeling, West Virginia. He would go on to retaliate claims on the stage floor and elsewhere. These words marked the beginning of Joseph McCarthy's tireless cruise against the communist threat at home and abroad, both real and imagined. America's fear of communism was not anew. The roots of Red Scare ran deep in our history. In capitalist societies, there was general distrust of socialism from its beginnings. Immigration, labor tensions, and the Russian Revolution intensified many Americans' sense and ease with its foreign ideology. McCarthy was not the first to paint it as antithetical to Christianity. Eventually, these streams of opposition became more formalized in 1938. The House Committee on Un-American Activities began to investigate instances of subversion. Communists were doing the most significant threat. The committee interrogated many individuals, particularly artists, whom the committee members determined to have socialist leanings. In one famous case, HUAC questioned the Hollywood 10 filmmakers who were current or former members of the Communist Party. The committee offered them immunity on the condition that they would expose them to other party members or their so-called fellow travelers or associates. All 10 witnesses refused to testify. They were found in concept, fired by the studios, and blacklisted in the industry, as were many others who came after them. Oh my God. Some of the allegations were made credible than others. In particular, the particular case alleged his a State Department of officials accused of espionage captured the nation's attention and imagination as it McCarthy's fears of communist influence and ascendance were not entirely unfounded. After World War II, the Soviet Union dominated most of the Eastern Europeans. The Soviet detoned the first atomic bomb in 1949. The same year, Mao Zedong seized power in China. Communist powers were indeed extending their reach abroad. HUAC had unmasked traitors at home, McCarthy's was convinced others remained and determined to work from the state side to expose them. A fear public was willing to overlook his sometimes questionable tactics to guarantee their security. McCarthy's popularity grew as quickly as he did with lists of suspects. The speech. McCarthy had accused government officials of subversion before. Here he is more specific. He definitely states that 205 employees of State Department are members of the Communist Party. The security of the state is aware of this and has done nothing. Interestingly, for some strong in his convictions. Sorry. My back hurts. I'm not like doing this right. McCarthy's was surprisingly. Sorry, let me close the window. Inconsistent with his members the next day. In the Senate, he made his famous claim to known 57 card-carrying members of the Communist Party. In the State Department, in a quote given 10 days later, the tally changed to 81. His case had more made the State Department the perfect target. McCarthy seized on the other incidents to sow fear and consolidate his power. It's easy to look back now and dismiss the McCarthy years as instance of the Cold War hysteria. The Soviet Union at first was in fact a genuine threat, but McCarthy conflated the threat with any deviation from the narrow definition of patriotism. Soon no one could contradict him for fear of being labeled a traitor. Some, including his fellow Senator Margaret Chase Smith, saw he was dangerous. 4 months after Wheeling, she made an impassioned speech, which we'll study next, criticizing McCarthy and his supporters' methods and tone. But world events quickly overshadowed her objects when less than 3 weeks later, the North invaded South Korea. It was longer, particularly expedited to expose the anti-communist crusader from Wisconsin. Often Republicans joined him in his demands for more thorough investigations. Others include President Eisenhower and then Senator John F. Kennedy found McCarthy distasteful but not dare contradict him for fear of being branded soft on communism. This, and I quote, "If you're not for us, you're against us." End of quote. Logic appears again and again in rhetoric that uses the fear and persuade. McCarthy wasn't the first to use this approach, and will be not the last. Since his time, many had invoked his name when they felt unfairly accused. Others dismissed their opposition by claiming to be victims. Others of McCarthyist witch hunt. These are often the same people who seek to motivate through fear. Listen for echoes of McCarthy's language and rhetoric you're encountered. Keep in mind that line between motivation and manipulation will not always be clear. That was background, Joseph McCarthy.